My first two Take Back the Night marches through the streets of San Francisco and Berkeley, when such activities were perceived as being anti-establishment, are memorable to me and stand out as a time when the struggle was on a different front than now. Challenging society's comfort zone was often greeted with hostility. How we were viewed by the system was summed up nicely for me in a meeting that I had set up in an attempt to build alliances. A sergeant in the meeting looked at me and said, "I know who you women are." And I said, "Oh, really? And who are we?" He loudly responded that we were all barefoot, braless, brazen, hairy-legged lesbian hippie women carrying placards, which I took as a compliment except for the hairy leg part. It is important for us to remember and appreciate the women who have come before us, for without them we would not be where we are today, and to hold on to the vision of a world that is free of violence against women.
When I tell people that I've been working in the movement to end violence against women and children for over 20 years, I'm often asked, how can I continue to do such difficult work? My father used to say, hazlo con ganas, which means if you're going to do something, do it with gusto or commitment. Give it all you've got. I remember how I felt when I was told by other women of color that I had FLS, false Latina syndrome, because I wasn't fluent in Spanish and because someone in the position of leadership must have sold out. I remember when I was called a sexist because I dared to raise the issue of what role men could play in helping to do this work.
Sometimes it just felt like climbing a mountain every day, putting yourself out there with no roadmaps and no tools to do the job. All the knowledge was not known. I had no colleagues close by. We all had to operate intuitively, using our best judgment. That's why I organized the California State Coalition of Rape Crisis Centers. I was director of the Yolo County Rape Crisis Center, and we had $1,500 left over in the budget that year. We decided to see if other rape crisis centers wanted a coalition. I sent out a survey letter to as many centers as we could identify. I asked them if they wanted a coalition. We got a big response. They wanted to organize.
Before 1978, there were no Asian rape victims, you know. They weren't calling rape hotlines. No one from the API, Asian Pacific Islander communities, could or would name a single rape victim. You don't need an Asian rape hotline, they said. But what if I were raped and spoke no English and had no family around? Where do I go? Who would help me? Embattled. That's how I always felt. At war on several fronts, with law enforcement, with funding sources, even with myself. Hardest of all was war with the API communities, traditional, conservative, and fiercely proud of their ancient cultures. Drop the word rape from your hotline's name, they said, after I opened in Los Angeles the first 24-hour rape service in the United States for APIs. I smiled shyly at them each time and thought, hell no. Should I really behave like a proper Asian woman and not speak? Or shouldn't I challenge the patriarchalist systems of API cultures? Feminism to me is taking a moral stance.
I remember when I struggled with my dual roles as an advocate in the rape crisis movement and as a socially active Black woman in my community. I understood my role as a Black woman and came to the rape crisis movement simply to manage the volunteers. It was then that the mother of the civil rights movement, Rosa Parks, came to an advocate training and talked about her struggle and participation in the civil rights movement. This woman, who was my idol, validated the work that I was doing in the rape crisis movement. Dr. Ritchie had been the keynote speaker at the Color of Violence conference in 1993. It was this conference that defined me as a woman. I remember when every woman stood in a circle and bonded in a spirit of sisterhood. The women on both sides of me released energy so electric, tears began to run down my face. Not only did I find my place in the movement, I had found my home.
Those that mentored me had a vision already and took the issue and created a center that was culturally and language specific to the Latinas, Chicanas in the early 70s in East Los Angeles. There were not a whole lot of Latinas, so our voice was very, very small. Our voice was very much unheard. I feel very grateful to that group of women, that early part of the movement, for the person and the woman that I am today. The leadership that was provided to me and taught to me has been so wonderful that I have a commitment to continue providing that leadership and creating other women to take on the role.
I came to the violence against women movement in California with a black belt in karate and a dream to teach self-defense and martial arts with a feminist twist to women and kids. The story still to be told is how this movement was built by women of color, lesbians, and straight women working together, challenging each other, confronting each other to be our better selves. When we needed healers, we became them. When we needed warriors, we trained them. When we needed organizations, we built them. When we needed allies, we found them. There's a Hebrew phrase, Naknu Bonim, we the builders. That's who we were. Now it's time to pass it on.